Hello again in anime realm, with a new anime called The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army Was a Human. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see the next part. Ike is a magician in the demon army. This dude got mad strength and skills, so they bumped him up to commander status. Right now, he is on a mission to attack Arsenam's fort with his crew and take control of it. Ike is strategizing on how to handle his army. And damn, he manages to bring the fort walls down. Dude even surprised they went down quicker than he expected. His piggy assistant fills him in, saying it's because Ike hooked the orcs up with a battering ram, just like he told them to. Later on, we see humans and demons going at it inside the city walls, and the demons straight up dominating. Ike decides to pay a visit to the human army commander. As soon as the commander lays eyes on him, he recognizes Ike. Dude made a name for himself as the brigade commander of the Demon Lord Army's 7th Corps, the Undying Brigade. Ike lays out 3 options for the commander. Option 1, surrender and hand over his territories. Option 2, go out like a true warrior and off himself. Option 3, run away while Ike chills and enjoys the scenery outside. The human commander is hella surprised to see a demon showing mercy, but he ain't feeling any of the choices, so he straight up attacks Ike. But Ike ain't one to mess with and takes the commander down with just one spell. The piggy comes over to check if Ike's safe, and damn, he is relieved to see Ike all good. Ike tells the piggy to take care of the wounded commander and the soldiers who surrendered outside. And Piggy is hella surprised by this move. Meanwhile, there's this smoking hot lady keeping an eye on Ike through a magic crystal. She can't believe Ike managed to capture Arsenam with just 1 brigade in only a week. But she always knew Ike had potential. Ike then puts up a barrier spell to secure the room he chilling in. He takes a look at the destruction caused by the battle and feels guilty about hurting so many peeps. Dude no, he ain't never gonna get used to the blood and gore of war, because he reveals he ain't no demon. He is a human. Ike explains how his teacher Romberg was this badass demon mage. Romberg knew everything about an advanced civilization that used to live in this world. Even though Ike was human, Romberg took him in and raised him, teaching him all his magic knowledge, and right before he kicked the bucket, Romberg warned Ike never to mention the advanced civilization because it would bring disaster. And he also instructed him to never remove his mask and robe, because if the demon lord finds out who you really are, he ain't never gonna forgive you. And Ike said that he would take his advice seriously, like a little cute boy in his Halloween costume. Then Ike starts thinking that this room is all locked up with a badass barrier, and ain't nobody getting in without his permission. But damn, he's hella surprised when he spots a maid hiding right under the table he's sitting at. She's begging him not to kill her, all scared and shaking, saying she ain't seen nothing. And wouldn't you know it, this clumsy maid bangs her head on the table and passes out. Ike can't believe his secret identity, the one he's been keeping quiet for 20 freaking years, got revealed in such a cliché way. Then the scene cuts to him walking around Arsenam. His piggy's rolling with him and says that they took over the city. But Ike letting too many humans survive. He tells the piggy not to sweat it because the current demon lord ain't like the last one, and he only cares about the results. The piggy then says that the other leaders want to massacre the people and torch the whole town. But Ike tells him that if they kill them all, who the hell we will collect the taxes from? He explains that Arsenam is a damn trading city, and if there ain't nobody living there, the whole trade game gonna stop. Then out of nowhere, Ike sees a crowd of people waiting to talk to him, and the piggy tells them they don't have the authority to speak with his lord. But Ike ignores him and tells the humans to speak up. One of the humans, all hesitant, asks Ike how much they gotta cough up in taxes. But to his surprise, Ike tells him that the tax is gonna be the same as usual, and they all stoked about it. But then Ike warns them that if they resist the demon army, they will gonna get punished. But before he can hear their response though, he gets zapped to some dark-ass labyrinth. There he gets attacked by a monster he can barely see. And turns out that the hot woman from earlier summoned him there. He tells the hottie that she promised him that she wouldn't summon him out of thin air, and he unleashes one of his dope spells to take down the monster. The hottie tells him he's gotten stronger and introduces herself as Saikyou, the 7th Corps commander of the Demon Lord's army. Ike explains that she's his boss, the only demon who knows his secret, and he tells her, instead of trying to kill him every damn time, she should hit him up with a message like a damn normal person. Saikyou states that this would not be any fun, and Ike wonders if she summoned him here so he can make his report. She states that she has already found out everything with the help of her familiars, so he wonders why she has summoned him here in this case. She tells him that Demon Lord Darrow wants to see him in the flesh, and she's saying he might be the first brigade commander to get such a dope honor. Ike wonders why the Demon Lord wants to see him, and she states that he must have impressed him by taking Arsenal in a single week. She mentions that she'll take him there if he puts his hand on her shoulder, and he does it. Sephiro's disappointed because she thought maybe he'd try to feel up her breasts, but he is too damn chicken to do it, and she then teleports their asses. Meanwhile, that maid from earlier wakes up and tries to bounce from the room, but she sees she's trapped in a damn barrier. She finds some food in the room with a note she can't read, but she tries out the food anyway, and she finds it delicious, so she starts scarfing it down like she ain't ate for ages. Next thing we see, Ike and Sephiroth are getting close to the Demon Lord's castle. The miasma around the castle is making Ike uneasy because he ain't a demon. They walk towards the castle gates, and Ike spots a magician at the entrance. He's thinking, hey, does this magician check everyone who steps foot in the castle? Sephiroth confirms it. And that's worrying Ike because if they strip off his mask and robe, his true identity might get exposed. Sephiroth tells him not to sweat it and uses her magic to surround Ike with a crazy amount of power. Seeing this, the magician thinks that he expected this much from Romberg's grandson, and Ike is shocked that the magician knows his grandpa. And the magician stated that everyone knew him as he was the master magician. Then Sephiroth's like, hurry your ass up. The Demon Lord's waiting. They step into the castle, and Ike explains that the Demon Lord's castle Doberberg is hella massive. It's built to flex the Demon Lord's mad power and magic skills. Ike's getting tired walking down the super long hallway, and he thinks that it ain't fair that Sephiroth can fly. He's always wanted flight magic, but his control ain't as tight as hers. The most he can do is jump crazy high. And then they arrive at the gate to the throne room. Sephiroth goes to chat with the Demon Lord while Ike waits. And while he's waiting, he's thinking that this Demon Lord is the one who turned the tide of the war against humanity and gave the demons a major advantage with just one battle. He figures the Demon Lord must be crazy strong and ripped. And the word on the street is that he's ice cold and ruthless. They say he's quick to kill anyone incompetent, whether they're friend or enemy. But if he sees potential in someone, he puts them to work, even if they ain't got the physical or magical power. He's all about meritocracy and has totally transformed the demon army. See, demons are born to be loners, always fighting among themselves. But this current demon Lord Darrow changed all that. Sephiroth gives Ike the green light to enter the throne room. So, he walks in and immediately bows his head to the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord tells him to lift his head, and Ike is shocked to see Barbie sitting on the throne. So he wonders if the Demon Lord's daughter left the daycare early. But turns out she's the infamous Demon Lord everyone's been buzzing about lately. She gives him props for taking down Arsenal in just a week. But he says he just did as he was told and that Sephiroth deserves all the credit. Darrow tells him he's as humble as a human, and Ike starts sweating a bit. Sephiroth tells the Demon Lord he's Romberg's grandson, the guardian of hell. The Demon Lord thinks that explains his humbleness and says he must be a deep thinker. That's probably why he didn't kill the leader or slaughter the residents of Arsenal, managing to bring down the city with minimal casualties. Ike then wonders if he should listen to the piggy and kill the humans as he suggested. But he knows he can't do that because he's human himself. He thinks that he can't mess this up. So he asks the Demon Lord for permission to speak. She gives him the green light, saying he can speak his mind. So Ike says that humans might fear terror, but they don't bow down to it. He argues that when you compare the productivity of towns where the demon leaders executed people to the ones where they didn't, it's clear which approach is better for their army. Darrow wonders if that's what Romberg thought too, and Ike confirms it. After chatting with the Demon Lord, Ike realizes she must also know about the ancient civilization and use that knowledge to revolutionize the demon army. Darrow tells him he's different from the other demons and takes off, saying she'd like to see the face behind his mask one day. Ike takes off his mask once the Demon Lord is out of sight, and Damn was freaking nervous. He can't believe the Demon Lord caught onto his mask situation. Sephiroth tells him he better be grateful she didn't figure out he's a human. She mentions that the Demon Lord gave him a reward, but it feels more like a punishment. The scene switches to Ike returning to the room where he set up a barrier. He notices the maid knocked out after chowing down on the food he left for her. He wakes her up, and she starts apologizing and begging for mercy again. He tells her to chill because he ain't gonna offer, and he asks for her name. She introduces herself as 13, and he thinks her name's pretty weird. She explains that she's a slave, and they're always called by a number, but her mom named her Sadie. Ike realizes he can't just let her go now that she knows his human secret. She sticks to him like glue and promises to keep it forever. Ike believes her and declares she's gonna be his maid from now on. And she's thrilled to hear that. The scene cuts to Ike in Avelia's, and we find out he's become the ruler of this city. He remembers that's the reward Saphiro mentioned. She told him Avelia's is farther south than Arsenam, and it's gonna be on the front lines of the war. It may be a small town, but it's vital for the demon army. His mission is to protect it and bring in double the tax money. I can't believe he has to double the taxes smack in the middle of a freaking war. And he thinks that if this is the front line, the humans can attack them at any time. He tells Piggy they gotta fix the walls first and asks how long it'll take. Piggy says it'll be 6 months, but Ike knows they don't have that kind of time. He wonders what the hell they should do and gets an idea. He tells Piggy they're gonna fix the walls in 1 month. Piggy thinks it's impossible, but Ike says they ain't only using human power. The next thing we see, both humans and demons are working together to repair the walls. Piggy's shocked to see the two races getting along and working in harmony. He thinks that Ike is really a damn genius, and he explains that he divided the work into 8-hour shifts so that they can work around the clock. And he also paid the workers to increase their morale. Ike uses his magic to help with the repairs, and Piggy thinks that his life gonna be set if he follows him. He reckons Ike might even become the next demon lord someday. The war between humans and demons keeps on raging, and right now the demons got the upper hand, which got Darrow feeling pretty damn good. But their intel shows that the humans are about to team up with the neighboring kingdom, and if they do, it could flip the whole damn war around. So Darrow decides to put their trust in Ike to lead a successful attack. Meanwhile, in the human kingdom, the badass knight known as White Rose Alistair gets summoned to help reclaim Avelia's. They can't afford to lose another stronghold, so she's gotta step up. And once she gets her mission, she bounces to handle it. At the same time, Ike and Sadie are on a mission of their own in the kingdom. But Sadie gets caught up in some shady game. This dude tells her all she gotta do is guess which cup the ball is under. And if she's right, he'll double whatever cash she throws down. Sadie makes her choice, and the dude tells her to place her bet. But Sadie ain't got no money to bet with because Ike doesn't trust her with the finances. This con artist gets pissed that she wasted his time. But then he takes a second look at Sadie and says she can pay him off another way if she loses. Right then, all the cups start floating in the air, and it turns out the damn ball was never under any of them. Now all the other suckers who lost money to the dude get straight up furious and start threatening him to get their cash back. In the middle of the chaos, Ike pulls Sadie away and reminds her that she's supposed to stick by his side as his maid. Sadie apologizes, saying she was just curious. Then she notices Ike's rocking a new outfit, and Ike explains they're on a mission to spy on the enemy. So they can't be walking around in their demon disguise. They start strolling through town, and as they do, they spot a whole platoon of soldiers marching through the streets. That's all Ike needed to see to confirm that the kingdom is really making that alliance. They've made these alliances before, and each time, it ended up kicking the demon lord's ass and pushing the army back to the castle. Sadie's worried the demon army might get defeated again because of this alliance. But Ike expects her to be rooting for the demons to fall since she's basically a damn prisoner right now. Sadie breaks it down for Ike, saying her old lady was a slave in human society. She knows that means she'll always be treated like a damn slave herself and end up like the broke-ass kids over there. But Ike reassures her, saying the demon army they have now is the strongest and smartest it's ever been. They ain't gonna let nobody take them down easily. As they keep strolling down the street, Ike hears someone shouting at them to halt. He turns around and sees it's the con artist trying to start some shit. Dude's mad because Ike messed up his damn scam, so he rolls up with this big dude, thinking he can rob Ike to get even. Ike looks around and sees there ain't nobody nearby, so he decides it's time to teach this con artist a little lesson. In a flash, Ike casts a spell to freeze the big guy's legs and points a bunch of icicles at the con artist. The con artist demands that Ike unfreeze his boy so he can keep robbing him. But Ike ain't playing around. He stabs the dude in the shoulder to show he ain't afraid to hurt him if he don't cooperate. Finally, the dude realizes he's screwed and agrees to spill everything he wants to know. So Ike asks him what the deal is with all the soldiers in town, because they all seem to be in a mad hurry. At first, the dude claims he don't know jack shit, but Ike threatens to straight up end him immediately. That's when the con artist starts spilling about the alliance and how the Rosaria army wants to rack up some war points for themselves before the alliance steps in. Ike gets why they want to do that, because more kills means more respect at the strategy meetings. But if they fail their mission, it's gonna screw Rosaria over big time. Ike pieces together where they planning to launch their attack, and the con man tells him that there's only one spot they could be aiming for: Avelia's. Word is, Avelia's got a massive hole in its walls, so it's gotta be an easy target. Ike's got a solid grip on the situation now. And since the con man spilled some useful info, he lets him be, but he doesn't mention nothing about unfreezing his ass. Once they make it back to Ike's office, he sits at his desk to finish up some paperwork, and Sadie brings him some tea to help him unwind. Just then, this demon chick bursts into the room and demands to know where the hell Ike's been for the past few hours because she's been damn worried. Ike keeps his cool and says he was busy scoping out the kingdom of Rosaria, but his reasonable answer don't satisfy her, so she starts going after Sadie, questioning why Ike's rolling with a human by his side. Sadie introduces herself as Ike's maid, but this girl straight up dismisses her and casually calls her an ugly slave. Then she has the nerve to offer to be Ike's maid instead. Sadie's had enough at this point, so she tells the girl to back the hell off because Ike's too tired to be dealing with hoes right now. And that sets off a long-ass argument between the two, accusing each other of trying to seduce Ike. Ike's smart enough to stay the hell out of that mess. Meanwhile, the Rosaria's army has gathered outside of Avelia's and they're getting ready to attack. They notice there ain't many guards near the walls, which seems odd, but they figure it's because the humans are short on manpower to defend their turf. They let Alistair know they're all set for the attack and ready to unleash hell when she gives the order. So Alistair gives the order to fire. But as soon as she does, a bunch of skeleton soldiers pop up out of nowhere and surround Alistair's forces. The humans think they can handle some damn skeletons because they got siege gear and all. But out of the blue, one of the soldiers gets blasted by a shot and everything goes to shit for the humans. Alistair sees they ain't got no chance of winning this battle no more, so she calls for an immediate retreat. Ike and the piggy giant were watching the whole thing from the top of the wall, and they give props to Alistair for making the smart move to retreat. But let's be real, the only reason they had a shot was because of Ike's recon mission earlier. But while they're busy watching, an assassin sneaks up behind Ike and shoots an arrow straight into his back. Dude falls to the ground and passes the hell out. Meanwhile, the general just got word that Alistair had to retreat because of some unexpected shit. The soldier tries to explain that the demon army set up an ambush in advance, but the general ain't having it. He orders Alistair to get locked up for losing. The soldier realizes that's a dumbass move, so he tries to explain that Alistair is one of the baddest commanders in the kingdom. He's saying that throwing her ass in jail for one loss is gonna mess up the soldiers' morale and screw up their future battles. But the general don't give a damn and insists on punishing Alistair for failing the mission he sent her on. Back at Avelia's, Ike wakes up in bed after healing up from his wound, but he finds Sephiroth sleeping next to him. So he's got a bunch of questions to ask. First off, he wants to know why the hell she's in bed with him. But she dodges the question and says she saved his life. But something about the way she says it sounds real sketchy. Eventually, Ike gets her to drop the act and tell him what the hell happened because he don't remember shit. So she spills that she healed him after he got shot in the back with that damn arrow. It was a nasty injury, but thanks to her healing, there ain't even gonna be a scar left by now. Moving on, Sephiroth mentions that the reports say not a single human got killed in the attack. She knows Ike ain't into killing folks when it ain't necessary, but if he keeps acting this way, he's gonna raise the suspicion of the Demon Lord again. Ike gets where Sephiroth's coming from, but he's trying to find a way for humans and demons to live peacefully without all this pointless killing. So needless killing would only be the opposite of his plans. Sephiroth respects Ike's dedication to bringing peace between the races, so she drops the subject for now and tells him to stay put and get some rest because he's still just a human after all. Once she's gone, Ike takes a good look at the arrow that was used to shoot him. Based on what he's been told, he got shot from behind, which means either someone had to sneak into the castle to get to him or it was a betrayal from someone close to him. Right then, Ike hears a knock at the door, so he throws on his skeleton mask, just as Sadie and Lilith walk in to check up on him. They were both worried about Ike, but they're still arguing over who gets to seduce him. Lilith tells Sadie to back off and then snuggles up against Ike's arm, but Sadie ain't having it. She wants to get close to Ike too, so they start another fight. But luckily, Jiren steps in and saves the day. He grabs Lilith and tosses her out of the room and locks the damn door. Lilith starts banging on the door, begging to be let back in, but Jiren knows she's seriously getting on Ike's nerves, so he keeps her ass out. Ike thanks him for the help and asks for a favor because he wants to know where the hell Alistair is right now. Jiren promises to look into it, and after a few hours of digging, he tells Ike that Alistair's locked up because she failed to reclaim Avelia's. This was supposed to be a simple undercover mission to meet up with Alistair, But damn, Lilith had to follow him here. She starts warning Ike that humans can get real violent sometimes, so it ain't safe for him to come in person. But Ike thinks he'll be fine because he's got something important to ask Alistair face to face, and he doesn't even remember asking Lilith to come along. Lilith says it'll be more interesting with the two of them together, and once they're done with the mission, they can have all the fun they want. Plus, Sadie got to roll with him on the last mission, so it's only fair that she gets to join him this time. Ike don't want to argue, so he lets Lilith tag along, but he tells her she better keep up with him. They finally make it to the front gate of the prison, and it doesn't look like it's heavily guarded or nothing. So Lilith thinks she could probably break in all by herself, but Ike stops her and says he don't want to cause a ruckus. Instead, he wants them to get in and out quickly and peacefully. But damn, Lilith already knocked out the guards while Ike was still talking. They step inside, and this place is way bigger than Ike expected, so it might take a while to find Alistair's cell. But Lilith's got a better idea. She straight up beats the crap out of the prison warden until he gives up his keys and tells her where Alistair is being held. Alistair is apparently on the top floor, but just as Ike and Lilith are about to head up, a whole bunch of guards show up because they heard all the screaming from the warden earlier. Lilith tells Ike to go on ahead without her while she deals with the guards, but before he bounces, he reminds her that he don't want no unnecessary bloodshed. Lilith promises not to kill anyone, but as Ike's leaving, he hears the guards screaming in pain with bones cracking left and right. He brushes it off for now and starts climbing the stairs till he gets to what's supposed to be Alistair's cell, but he is shocked to find it completely empty. Right then, some girl sneaks up from behind and tries to stab Ike in the back, but he dodges her and pins her down, and that girl soon turns out to be Alistair herself. So he lets her go and tells her he's got a question. He wants to know if she sent an assassin to kill him during the last battle, because if it wasn't her, then that means he's got a traitor on his hands. Instead of answering right away, Alistair gets closer to Ike and asks if he's really a demon because he don't seem like one to her. Ike tries to play dumb, but the guards start making their way up the stairs, distracting him. So Alistair takes the chance to put her knife to his throat and ask him once again if he's actually a human. She wants to know if Ike is actually human or what. The guards start closing in, but she ain't budging till she gets her answer. Since she doesn't want him moving, Ike says he won't budge, but that doesn't stop him from throwing down a spell. So before Alistair even knows what's going down, Ike starts spitting some weird Indian chant, and everybody's frozen in their tracks. Then Ike struts up to the guards and blows them away with a sick wind spell. But out of nowhere, another guard sneaks up behind Ike, swinging his mace trying to take him out. Ike pulls a slick dodge move, and when he's in the clear, he grabs that guard with some magic and sticks him to the bridge grate, sending him straight to his demise. But right before he hits the ground, Ike busts out another spell to break his fall. Alistair can't wrap her head around why Ike would go through all that trouble to save a human. But damn, the bridge is way more messed up than Ike thought, and Alistair is still stuck there, unable to move. So eventually, that grate beneath her gives way, and she's falling to her doom. But just like before, Ike swoops in and saves her ass before she hits the ground. Alistair's even more baffled now because it ain't making any damn sense for a demon to be saving her life. But Ike brushes her off and finally introduces himself properly. He straight up claims he's the commander of the 7th Army of the Demon Lord, and Alistair puts 2 and 2 together. Ike must be that general who held it down against her troops in Avelias. Ike uses his demon commander status as proof that he ain't no human. Like, no way the demon army would be dumb enough to let a human climb the ranks like that. Alistair starts thinking Ike's a demon for real. So Ike asks her again if she sent an assassin, but she's stubborn as hell and won't give him a damn thing. She's a proud knight loyal to her kingdom, and she'd rather die than spill any info that could help the enemy. Ike realizes she ain't budging with the answers he wants, so he steps up real close to Alistair and starts digging into her mind with some mind-reading magic. Just as he's doing his thing, Lilith pops in mad as hell because Ike's flirting with some human chick when she's right there. She tries to get Ike to hug her instead, but he already got all the deets he needed from Alistair's head, so he says he will be leaving now. As Ike and Lilith bounce, Alistair shouts out and asks why Ike went through all that trouble breaking into the prison if he was just gonna peace out peacefully. Ike straight up tells her he ain't got no reason to stick around no more because he knows Alistair had nothing to do with the assassination. And while he was digging into her mind, he caught a glimpse of a couple of her thoughts. So Ike tells Alistair she shouldn't beat herself up over losing the battle for Avelias. It's all good for a commander like her to learn from her mistakes and keep moving forward. After that, he tells Lilith to get ready to bounce, but she suggests they find a private spot and have a little fun first. But Ike shuts her down quick and opens a portal to teleport them back to the castle. And once they vanish, Alistair's left with a whole lot of questions about what the hell just went down. Back at the house, Ike gets greeted by Sadie as he rolls in. He tells her he's got a present for her. Sadie's curious and goes over to him, and Ike pours a bag of rice into her hand. Sadie's never seen rice before, so she ain't got a clue what it is. Ike tells her he found it in the capital city of Lazas and that it'll boost the productivity of Avelias. See, he got ordered to find a way to double the tax revenue for the town. So while Avelias already pumps out a bunch of wheat, if they switch to growing rice, he can crank up the productivity of the whole damn place. Sadie doesn't know what the hell productivity means, so Ike takes it upon himself to break it down. He tells her it means they can grow a whole lot of rice compared to wheat, and that means they won't need as many farmers to work on the fields, and those folks can do other stuff with their time. So overall, the productivity of Avelia is gonna keep rising and eventually make them rich. Ike asks if Sadie gets what he just said, but her brain's still trying to process the whole productivity thing, so Ike's economics lesson was a total waste. He simplifies it and says it means people gonna have plenty of food to eat, and he gonna be stacking up that tax money in the process. Sadie finally gets what Ike's saying, so to get things rolling, he wants her to whip up something with the rice. Sadie ain't never cooked rice before, so she asks Ike what she is meant to do with it. But damn, even Ike doesn't know because he ain't never seen rice either. Sadie's shocked that there's stuff even Ike doesn't know, but she is still clueless about what to do with the rice. All Ike knows is that you gotta go from low to high and never take off the lid, even if the baby crying, so he leaves it up to Sadie to figure out the rest while he handles some important business in town. A few minutes later, Ike hollers for Jiren to gather all the soldiers and his crew in the courtyard. Once that's done, he starts thinking about what he's figured out so far. The arrow used in the assassination attempt came from Alistair's army. But he read her mind, and she ain't know nothing about no assassination attempt. That means somebody tried to assassinate him and make it look like Alistair was behind it. While he ain't liking the idea of suspecting his soldiers, he gotta face the fact that there's probably a spy among them. He busts out his mind reading magic and scans the brains of everyone gathered. After going through everyone's mind, he finds a goblin who's freaking out and praying he don't get caught. As soon as Ike's suspicions confirmed, he teleports right in front of the goblin and straight up accuses him of being a spy. Later on, Ike heads over to Sephiroth's castle to get some advice, but he teleports in while Sephiroth's taking a bath. She don't seem to mind being naked in front of Ike all that much, but Ike ain't cool with it, so he says he'll wait outside. Before he dips though, Sephiroth asks him if he got a traitor in his army. That catches Ike's attention because he ain't told nobody about the spy goblin yet. So he asks how she found out. Sephiroth says she just made a guess, so Ike spills that the traitor behind it all is Jace, the one-eyed goblin. Sephiroth ain't surprised to hear that because she has been suspicious of Jace for a while, so Ike asks her what he should do now. She gets out of her bath and says they're gonna make Jace pay for betraying them. Meanwhile, back in Avelias, Jace gets word from his crew that Ike paid a visit to Sephiroth recently. He can't wrap his head around how Ike bounced back so fast after they shot him in the back. But things go from bad to worse when one of his homies tells him they lost contact with their spy and Ike's crew. Jace knows this ain't good news. It probably means Ike's onto his little scheme. So he decides he's gonna gather his troops and go after Ike before he gets taken out. But damn, he gets hit with a horror show when he finds out Ike's out in the streets looking for him. Jace steps up and meets Ike, acting all nice, saying Ike should have given him a heads up if he was gonna roll through out of the blue. Ike says he just happened to be in the neighborhood and wanted to pay Jace a visit solo. But Jace shows up with his whole crew, so Ike asks if he is planning to start a fricking war or something. Jace tells Ike this is his turf, so he got no business being here in the first place. He also points out how Ike got tagged with an arrow not too long ago, making it seem like Ike losing his edge as a commander. Ike agrees, saying he was careless back then, but he never saw the betrayal coming from someone on his own squad. No way he could have predicted that. Since Ike knows Jace the traitor, Jace drops the nice act and tells Ike he was careless coming here alone because now Jace and his whole army gonna tear him apart. Ike's actually glad to hear that Jace brought his whole army because now he can just blow them all up at once. Jace looks up in the sky and sees a bunch of massive meteors raining down. That's Sephiroth doing her thing with a wickedly destructive spell. She loves unleashing that power so much, that she forgot to give Ike a heads up to get the hell out of the blast zone, but she's pretty sure he'll be fine. Down on the ground, Ike ain't fine at all. He gotta hide behind a building to avoid getting blown to bits. He asked Sephiroth to tone down her attack so they could rebuild this part of the city later. But she clearly ignored him because this is way too damn intense. Once the initial explosion show is over, Sephiroth starts phase 2 of the plan. She orders her skeleton soldiers to start taking out all the goblins who manage to survive, and the slaughter fest begins. As Jace watches his crew bite the dust, Ike teleports right behind him and gives him a damn choice. He can either surrender right now or wait until everyone's 6 feet under. And even after witnessing Ike's badassery, Jace stupidly orders his crew to off Ike. Ike busts out a wind spell and blows away the 2 fools coming at him from the front. But while he's doing that, some goblin tries to stab him in the back. Little did that goblin know, Ike had a shield ready to protect his ass. He straight up annihilates the rest of the goblins with his magic. Meanwhile, Jace's punk ass is making a run for it because he never gave a damn about his soldiers in the first place. But before he can make a clean getaway, Sephiroth's monster blocks his path. So he gotta use a smoke bomb to distract it and sneak away into some damn alley. Dude slinks into a portal and ends up in the damn forest, thinking he outsmarted Ike and Sephiroth. But just as he's about to head down his secret pathway, Ike shoots a damn fireball at him. Jace asks how the hell Ike found him when only he knows about that secret path. Ike explains that he has been tracking Jace with one of his familiars the whole damn time. Then he tells Jace to surrender right away because there ain't no way Jace gonna win or escape. Instead of surrendering, Jace decides to attack Ike, but his punches ain't shit against Ike's shield spell. So Ike blows his sorry ass back. Jace gets all tied up with magic vines and hung up like a damn fool. And that's when Jace finally admits defeat. You can see why the Demon Lord holds Ike in such high regard, and Jace himself thinks Ike has mad skills. So he got a proposition for him. He wants Ike to team up with him and take over the Demon Lord's army, bringing things back to the good old days. Jace complains about how the Demon Lord doesn't let demons kill humans without a damn good reason, even though demons naturally enjoy subjugating and killing humans. There's a bunch of demons who ain't feeling her way of doing things, so Jace invites Ike to help overthrow her because she ain't fit to be the Demon Lord. Ike straight up ain't having it, so Jace breaks free one of his hands and hurls a knife at Ike, but Ike effortlessly dodges that shit. And he feels insulted that Jace really thought that weak move would work on him. Ike starts grilling Jace about who else plotting to overthrow the Demon Lord, but he refuses to reveal any damn information. Sephiroth shows up real quick, ready to torture Jace as much as needed to squeeze out the info. But Ike pleads with her to let him handle it peacefully because he ain't trying to cause excessive harm. Sephiroth whining about how Ike's methods are taking too damn long, so she is about to get real brutal. Right then, Jace starts turning purple and screaming in pain, even though Sephiroth ain't even done jack shit yet. That can only mean the other demons in his crew poisoned him to keep him quiet. Ike tries using an antidote spell, but that poison is too damn potent, so Jace gonna kick the bucket sooner or later. Before he bites the dust, Sephiroth asks Jace if he still want to protect the snakes who poisoned him without a second thought. Jace agrees to spill about the rebellion leaders so Sephiroth can get her revenge. Once they got all that damn info, Sephiroth and Ike roll up to Darrow to let her know there's a rebellion going on, led by some punk-ass 3rd Division commander named Bastio. And since they accusing Bastio of straight-up treason, Darrow wanna hear his side of the story. Bastio is claiming that both Sephiroth and Ike are trying to front on him, and that's why they killed Jace to keep him quiet. He also says Sephiroth plotting to snatch the 3rd core from him. But all the accusations are straight up whack and only get Sephiroth heated. Darrow is telling Sephiroth to chill because she gonna handle the situation. Then she is dropping knowledge on everyone, saying the more power a demon got, the more they are craving it. Ambition is what defines demons, so she can't in good conscience punish a demon for hustling for power. But even with all that said, she ain't dumb. She is knowing damn well Bastio is full of laying shit, so she ain't falling for his accusations, and she also knows Sephiroth is still loyal to her. But it's still Sephiroth's fault that Jace betrayed her, because she was supposed to keep her crew loyal. Sephiroth is taking responsibility for that. So according to the demon's law, Darrow is supposed to take them both out. But she ain't gonna do that because it'd be a damn shame to lose 2 core commanders at once. Instead, she is deciding they're gonna settle this with a straight-up duel, and whoever comes out on top gets to keep breathing. Later on, Sephiroth is getting ready for the duel, and the Demon Lord just sends her the deeds. So she is telling Ike they're gonna be throwing down with puppets. because the rules say she can't fight in person, and Bastio can't either. Both of them gonna take charge of 50 puppets, and the side that wipes out all the enemy's puppets first wins. That seems like a whole lotta unnecessary complexity for a damn duel, because Darrow could just have them fight to death, but Sephiroth thinks the Demon Lord want to test their skills as commanders. Still, it doesn't make it any less weird. Oh, there's one more thing Sephiroth forgot to mention. Darrow made a rule that commanders can appoint someone to fight for them. So she is picking Ike to throw down in the duel, putting her life on the line. Ike is asking if she is sure she doesn't want to handle this duel herself, but she is saying she is much more likely to come out on top this way, because the duel is all about skill between commanders, and she believes Ike is way better at it than her, even though she was still way stronger than him. For now, she putting her life in his hands. Ike doesn't like being forced to fight for Sephiroth's survival, but he ain't got no choice but to bring his A-game. Ike gets taken to peep at the puppets he gonna command, and from what he has been told, all the puppets packing the same strength, and they follow their commander's orders to the word. So the only thing that gonna decide this duel is the leadership skills of the commanders. They also got the green light to gear up the puppets with weapons as they saw fit, but Ike ain't thinking the sword's gonna cut it to secure his win. Later on, he is back in his house, racking his brain trying to come up with some sick formations for the puppets. That's when Sadie rolls in and hands him a cup of tea. Since she around, Ike asks her what she'd do if she had to throw down and win a fight, but Sadie is clueless because she ain't about that fight life to begin with. Ike agrees that squashing beef without throwing fists be the way to go. But sometimes your opponent won't be satisfied less there's a full-blown brawl. So hypothetically, he wanna know what she'd do in that kind of situation. Sadie ain't got much fighting under her belt, but if she gotta choose, she will pick a damn broom as her weapon of choice. Ike saying she is spot on because the best weapon is one that keeps you outer reach of your opponent while giving you the reach to strike them. And yeah, a sword is better than a dagger. But a bow is even more lethal because you can hit them from a distance. But of course, Bastio knows all that too, so he probably gonna try the same tactics. Sadie mentions how her old master used to rave about crossbows being badass in battles, and Ike thinks that might be a dope idea because the crossbows can pierce metal armor and are easier to handle than bows. But it ain't gonna cut it for him because he needs something even more hardcore than crossbows. Dude wanna go full on Mad Max on them, but he ain't got the gear for that. So he's settling for the next best thing. Guns. Sadie never heard of guns before, so she asks if they are powerful, and Ike assures her guns are crazy strong. These boomsticks let you unleash hell from hundreds of meters away without your opponent being able to do shit in return. Sadie thinks that sounds hella dope, but she asking if Ike has the skills to whip up something like that. He may not be able to pull it off solo, but he already has a plan in mind. He's saying Sephiroth is a badass alchemist, so he is sure she gonna whip up the guns in no time. But when he goes to ask her, Sephiroth straight up shuts him down. She is good at making stuff, but she can't create something she ain't never seen before. Ike tries explaining it's just an iron tube with gunpowder to launch a bullet. But Sephiroth ignores him and starts to ask him to join her for a hot swim. Meanwhile, words just drop to Bastio that Ike taking Sephiroth's spot as commander. And while his lackey thinks Sephiroth must be scared of Bastio or some shit, Bastio knows Sephiroth got some kind of plan up her sleeve, even if he ain't know what it is. But for now, he letting his lackey know he is damn impressed with the sword that got made. The lackey tells him it is crafted with a dragon's tooth, and they can make enough of them to equip all their soldiers. But Bastio saying he gonna need a whole lot more than just 50 swords for what he has planned. Meanwhile, Ike just stepping out of the pool with Sephiroth, and he can't believe how chill she is when his screw-up could cost her life. Just then, someone tossing Ike's coat his way, so he's showing gratitude. But then he is about to have a heart attack because the person turning out to be Darrow. This is real bad for Ike because he ain't wearing his mask. But he thinks he can bluff his way out of this mess because maybe Darrow doesn't recognize him. She drops a bag on the ground and tells Ike to open it. So Ike doing just that and losing his mind when he sees a bunch of damn red dead guns. She knew Ike was trying to get his hands on them, so she went through a lot of trouble to get it for him. Ike tries denying it because he doesn't want her to know who he really is, but Darrow tells him ain't no point lying about it because she already knows he is human. Rumberg spills everything about Ike to her, so she knows from the start that Ike is human. But if she knew all along, then Ike asks why she ain't killed him right away. She says she let him live for the sake of her wish, since no matter how much power she's got, she won't be able to achieve her goal without having people by her side to fight for her. Ike's all curious and asks her what her wish is. So the Demon Lord says she wants to create a peaceful world, and for that, she needs mad skilled peeps on her squad. That's why she wants Ike to help her out. Ike says he's happy to serve her and Darrow is pleased. so she leaves by teleport. Ike brings the guns to Saphiro so she can eyeball them and finally understand what the hell guns are. She's all clueless and asks Ike how the hell she's supposed to make bullets. Ike tells her it's just a metal ball, so Saphiro conjures one up. But damn, that thing's way too damn big to be a bullet. Ike schools her and says it needs to be small enough to fit inside the gun barrel. So Saphiro catches on, although she ain't thrilled because making small stuff gives her wicked acne. Out of nowhere, there's a massive freaking explosion. But Saphiro ain't sense no magic. Ike breaks it down and says it's probably because of the gunpowder they were messing with. Fiorentina steps up and tells Ike she whipped up the powder he asked for. So Ike asks Saphiro if she's done with the bullets, and this time they're on point. Now he wants her to crank out about 500 more of them. Saphiro agrees to get him the bullets but dumps all the work on Fiorentina because she ain't feeling it. Ike apologizes to Fiorentina because he needs her to make the gunpowder and bullets, because Saphiro ain't willing to help. But she says she's already used to it because Saphiro never does her job. On the day of the duel, the stadium's packed with demons, all hyped and ready for some action. Bastio starts clowning on Ike, saying he only got shields for his puppets, while his own puppets are rocking full-on armor. He asks Ike what Saphiro's doing right now, and whether she's plotting something. But in any case, it doesn't matter to him since he will be winning no matter what. His puppets are covered head to toe in that tough Damascus steel, so no sword or arrow gonna break through. Darrow hooked him up with that gift, so he thinks she must be taking his side in this duel. Ike knows exactly what Darrow was thinking when she hooked them up with this sick gear. Maybe she wanted a fair fight or some kind of test. But no matter what her deal is, he can always ask her up once he's taken the win. The match kicks off, and they lay down the rules again. Each commander's got 50 puppets, and whoever wipes out the enemy's puppets first takes the crown, while the loser meets his creator. Once that's settled, they give the green light for the duel to begin, and Bastio wastes no time telling his archer puppets to light up Ike's squad. Ike commands his puppets to block with their shields, and while they manage to deflect some arrows, a few of Ike's puppets still catch shots. After that, Bastio orders his crew to charge in and wreak havoc on Ike's troops. Bastio's laughing the all time because Ike's just playing defense. Time ticks by, and a bunch of Ike's puppets bite the dust. But Darrow knows it ain't over yet. Then suddenly, there's a massive boom reverberating through the arena as Ike's remaining puppets open fire with their guns. Now that Ike's counterattack is in full swing, it doesn't take long for his puppets to effortlessly mow down Bastio's crew. Bastio's clueless, wondering what the hell's going down and why he's losing. Before you know it, all of Bastio's puppets drop to the ground lifeless, and Bastio officially loses the battle. So the Demon Lord steps down from her throne to deliver the rough news to him. She's feeling generous and gives him two options because she's so damn nice. She tells Bastio he can either off himself or she'll do it for him, and trust me, it won't be painless. But Bastio's got something else up his sleeve in case he ended up on the losing side. In the blink of an eye, Bastio has one of his archers shoot an arrow right at Darrow's back. But unlike Ike, she sees it coming and catches the arrow before it lands. What she wasn't expecting was the bomb strapped to the arrow. It blows up, taking her down. Bastio ain't done yet. He triggers another round of explosions in the stands, taking out a bunch of spectators and letting his undead soldiers storm the arena. And now he's claiming he'll be the new Demon Lord from this point on. Many years back, Realmerg went beast mode in a dark cave, wiping out a wolf pack and stumbling upon a family ripped apart by those savages. In the midst of all the chaos, there was a little kid still clinging to life, shielded by parents who put their bodies on the line to save their child from the Grim Reaper. Fast forward to today, the 3rd Battalion was all in on Bastio's hustle, trying to snatch control of the whole demonic crew. Catching the orcs by surprise, the commander skeletons and goblins straight up obliterated anyone in their way. While Bastio was flexing, swearing up and down that once he had the demons on lockdown, the whole world would bow to him. Seizing his moment of glory, Bastio slides up to Ike, talking about it ain't too late to ride with him, guaranteeing victory. He even throws in that Ike could still run the 7th Battalion. Peeping the scene, Ike peeps the orcs in the ring getting caught slipping and taken out by the skeleton squad. He hits back that the offer sounds good, but he ain't about to chat it up with Bastio. As the power emanates from his staff, Ike says that Bastio will never be the Demon Lord. Hearing this, Bastio chuckles, thinking Ike was smarter than that. As he talks, his crew closes in on Ike, and Bastio announces that this is Ike's end. With that, some warriors rush at Ike, who claps back with a spell that sends them flying. Unfazed, Bastio keeps the pressure on, pushing Ike to step it up with an even harder spell, taking out the soldiers coming at him. One skeleton tries to throw his skull out like a mana bomb near Ike, but it barely phases him, just as it's about to swing with a sword through the smoke. The skeleton gets shielded and zapped by another spell. Even though Ike's running the show in the battle, The 3rd Battalion stands strong under their leader's orders, not backing down in the face of Ike's strength. As Ike takes off, the archers take shots, but he dodges them and keeps climbing to a high spot to peep the scene from above. From up there, he drops a spell that cuts through all the enemy soldiers, leaving Bastio in shock. Before long, Bastio's next in line to feel Romberg's apprentice's wrath, flying toward him. Ike lets loose a spell that sets off a massive explosion. When the smoke cleared, Ike scoped out the chaos and wreckage around him, expecting Bastio to be in the mix. But with Bastio's head rolling on the ground, Dude let out another laugh and said it ain't over yet. Next thing you know, Bastio's body pops up behind Ike to attack, while the whole place is getting wrecked by explosions that are tearing the arena apart. Ike barely dodges the attack as the whole scene transforms into a sandstorm. Bastio makes it clear that a move like that ain't gonna take him out. Being the head of the Immortal Brigade, Ike needs to remember that Bastio's a Dullahan and he and his crew are undead. When Ike sees the enemies rising up again after getting dropped, he knows their intensity ain't fading. As Bastio's crew comes back swinging with more fire, this time the skeletons start chucking a bunch of explosive skulls at Ike, catching him off guard. On top of that, a zombie goblin is creeping up on Ike, making him act quick. He freezes the enemy's arm and shatters it to bits. Then he freezes time and takes out the nearest enemies, but they keep coming. According to Bastio, his troops are endless, and no matter how strong a sorcerer Ike is, all magic's gonna run dry at some point. So it's just a matter of time before Bastio claims the win, which sucks because Bastio would have digged having a player like Ike on his team. And just when things couldn't get worse, the orc archer who took a shot at Darrow takes another shot. With his crazy aim, he hits Ike with an explosive arrow, causing a massive explosion. By some miracle or quick reflexes, Ike manages to shield himself in time and throws up a magical barrier. But the hit shows that his life was on the line. Out of breath, Ike starts to show signs of being worn down. Bastio points out that the enemy's still kicking, proving why he's leading the Immortal Brigade. Still, Bastio keeps hammering home that resistance is futile. On the flip side, Ike's starting to think this might be true. So he's got to figure out a way to flip the script before things go south. Checking out his surroundings, Ike clocked that the undead were basically walking corpses, and his dark magic wasn't cutting it against them. But the fact they weren't alive sparked an idea in Ike's mind. Meanwhile, Bastio thought the enemy's chill vibe meant they were surrendering, but he seized the moment to order another attack from his troops, which they launched pronto. Ike hit back with a dazzling spell that wiped out the attackers, the light spreading across the battlefield and doing the same to the remaining foes. Bastio, caught off guard by this move, was left speechless. His archer lackey was gearing up for another shot, but got his arm chopped off, stopping his momentum. It was Saphiro, settling the score with the orc by blowing him sky high. Not only that, she brought in more troops to take on the 3rd Battalion, including demons under her command who were tearing it up, wrecking the opponents and owning the battlefield. Likewise, Jyrn led the Goblin battalions, while Lilith used her unique and hot techniques to take down their enemies. And after charming her way through the monsters, she announced she was coming for Ike next. In the meantime, Saphiro reached Ike first, letting him know the situation was in hand. Practically defeated, Bastio curses the name of Saphiro, but Darrow, who was watching from the shadows, reminded him that his real rival was Ike. As she approached him, she gave him a shot at redemption by offering a one-on-one showdown with Ike. If he won, Bastio would keep breathing. Bastio grabbed that chance, swearing to tear Ike apart. Without any frills, the two clashed, kicking up a storm of dust. Bastio kept swinging his sword, while Ike held his ground with his magical shield. But Bastio's strength cracked part of the barrier, pushing him to attack even harder. Claiming Ike's fate was sealed right there, he threw in some trash talk, saying Ike should blame the Demon Lord, who rewarded him with death after winning the war. To finish the fight, Bastio unleashed dark magic at Ike, who fought back with another bright spell that wiped out the undead troops. This time the light swallowed up Bastio's dark beam, even taking his hand with it. Peeping the brawl closely, Saphiro's mind is blown because she didn't know when Ike picked up white magic. Weirdly, she peeps that the Demon Lord ain't even fazed by this. Bastio, all big-headed, charges at his rival once more, who's now rocking white magic, the secret sauce for winning. Back in the day, young Ike was staring sadly at a wilted flower. His mentor Romberg then hits him up to join the magic lessons for the day. Showing mad talent from the jump, Ike stays training at these lessons, part of his daily routine with the Guardian of Hell. Later on, Ike asks if there's a spell to bring a dried-up flower back to life. The old teacher breaks it down that white magic's the key to that move. Without skipping a beat, Ike asks to learn this magic. But Romberg drops the truth that Ike's a demon now, so he should be about curses. Not that white magic life, see using that would raise some eyebrows because white magic's all about love and caring for others, straight from the heart. And that vibe wouldn't sit right with the demons if they caught Ike slinging that kind of mojo. But if Ike's dead set on learning, knowing he gotta keep it on the down low, Romberg spills that white magic's scarier than any blade for demon folk. Faced with that, Ike ain't backing down. Now a full-on mage Ike throws shade at Bastio, saying aiming to be a demon lord is too much for a small fry like him. Bastio ain't caring about throwing his troops under the bus, even if they're undead, ready to backstab his crew and his lady for his own power trip. Ike knows that's the demon way, but that's exactly why he won't let Bastio slide for his crimes, because a boss can't be treating their people foul. Bastio flips out at this talk, acting like he needs forgiveness from someone he sees as a nobody. Fueled by hate, he strikes again, and Ike apologizes to his grandpa for having to bust out the white magic. With his left claw shining bright, Ike goes straight through Bastio's gut, the light spreading and swallowing up Bastio until he vanishes. As soon as the fight is over, Saphiro questions if Ike picked up that move from Romberg, and he says yes. Impatiently, Ike points out that she knew all along, yet still left him to hold it down on the front lines. Saphiro laughs it off, saying that despite that, Ike still came out on top. But now Darrow's in a bind because there ain't no one to lead the 3rd Battalion, so she passes the baton to Ike, letting him know of her call as she dips out. Lilith and Fiorentina show up to hype up the leader's win and survival, even though Lilith's burning up with envy over Jiren showing Ike love. Later on, Saphiro steps to Darrow for yanking her second in command from her squad. As Ike's boss, she figured she'd be the one calling the shots for the crew. Darrow's thrown off by Saphiro's negative reaction, thinking she'd be cool with the move. But following Saphiro's logic, Darrow's the top dog over both, so she's got the final word on any call. But Darrow brings Ike in to lay down his thoughts and make his own call. After the sit-down with Darrow, Saphiro schools Ike for spilling that he's human to the Lord, but gets even more heated seeing the dude ain't even sweating about it. Just a bit ago, Ike had mentioned to the Lord that people are starting to get used to the new Avelias. At first, demons and humans didn't know how to kick it together, but that's been changing slowly to the point where all races are living in sync, hustling together for the greater good and progress of the hood, something that was unheard of before. Even the youngest people in Avelias ain't scared of what they used to call monsters, and what's popping off in this city is definitely something special. From day one of serving under Saphiro, Ike laid it out that his main mission is crafting a world where humans and demons can live together peacefully. With that said, he ditches the mask, apologizes for his move, but vows he's still got a lot to learn from Saphiro. In turn, he pledges to make Avelias the first spot where both races can live in peace. After Ike and Saphiro dip, Darrow reflects by her window on all she's just heard. The scene shifts to Ike standing at a high point, looking over Avelias. Sadie walks up and asks what he's doing there. Ike explains that he's been doing some research and found out they can use the Norfolk system with the soil and climate as they are. Sadie, a bit puzzled, asks what that means. Ike explains it's a method to grow lots of crops without letting the fields rest. She still doesn't get it, so he tells her she can eat all the turnips she wants. Sadie likes the sound of that, and Ike tells her that soon they're going to be busy creating a town where humans and demons can live together happily. Next, we see the human army clashing with demons who are trying to take over another one of their towns, and the humans win big. Then the scene cuts to Ike using magic to make it rain on the fields. He explains that right now, they grow wheat, let the fields rest, and then grow grass to feed livestock, which means the fields stay empty for a long time. Instead, they're going to rotate crops: barley, clover, wheat, and turnips, so they can keep the fields productive without needing rest periods. Sadie asks if they can eat clovers too, but Ike says clovers are for the livestock. He promises that if this works, neither demons nor humans will ever go hungry, and everyone's pumped about it. Later, Ike is in his study, and Sadie brings him some tea. She congratulates him on his new vice commander title, and Ike brushes it off, saying it's no big deal, just a spot that needed filling. Jiren bursts in looking frazzled, and Ike asks what's happened. Jiren says that they have big trouble, and Sadie tells Jiren to use Ike's new title now. Jiren suddenly remembers Ike's promotion and apologizes for not addressing him properly, and he offers to take any punishment Ike wants to dish out, but Ike just wants to hear the news. Jiren struggles to remember what he came for, and Ike guesses it might be about the Alliance of Kings. Jiren finally recalls and explains that the Alliance's army started moving last night, and the Second Corps, which was aiming to take over Alesta, got defeated. He says the Second Corps was made up of fierce warriors who are all skilled, and he never thought they'd lose so badly. Ike realizes that the whole situation is because of the Alliance of Kings getting involved, and the clueless maid doesn't even know what that is. Ike explains that it's one of the oldest treaties humanity has ever had. When the Demon Lord's army gets too strong for just one nation to handle on its own, all the nations on the continent join forces to take them down together. Jiren asks if there's ever been an alliance army in the past, and Ike confirms it's happened 3 times before. Each time, the demon army was defeated. Hearing this, Jiren gets worried about their own safety, and Ike tells him that Ivalia's is likely going to be the next target of this alliance's attention. He explains that the alliance took over Arsenam, which is a crucial base. If the humans want to take it back, they'll need to hit the front lines in Ivalia's first. Ike believes that while demons might be stronger than humans in a one-on-one fight, the real challenge comes from fighting against their overwhelming numbers and their ability to work together. If the alliance manages to capture Ivalia's, their army will head straight to Arsenam. Since they'll outnumber the defenders, they'll hit them with a concentrated attack, which would lead to Arsenam being lost. Ike explains that if this happens, their army will be forced to retreat back to Doberberg. Jiren thinks this is a pretty bad situation. Ike agrees and adds that if this comes to pass, his dream of creating a town where humans and demons can live together peacefully will also come to an end. He tells them there's only one way to counter the numerical advantage of the humans, and that's with guns. The scene then shifts to Fiorentina talking to Ike and Sephiroth, telling them that they can't mass-produce guns using alchemy. Sephiroth is curious about why that's the case, and Fiorentina demonstrates a gun made by alchemy. The gun turns out to be weak and breaks after just one use. Sephiroth questions if they even need these guns, suggesting they could just flatten the humans with magic instead. But Ike points out that using magic on such a large scale would cause massive destruction, making it hard to rebuild afterward. He explains that they need weapons that are easy for anyone to use if they're going to fight the Alliance. Fiorentina says that while mass-producing guns will be tough, it might be doable if they make the parts separately and then assemble them. Sephiroth asks how they're going to produce such small parts, and Fiorentina mentions that the dwarves might be able to help with that. Sephiroth agrees, but notes that the dwarves have been defeated by the humans and are now just a wandering tribe. They're gonna need a ton of dwarves to crank out the weapons they need. So Sephiroth asks Fiorentina how they're gonna get them all together. Fiorentina's got no clue, and Ike steps in, suggesting they bust out the Dwarf King who's locked up in the Ismuth Kingdom. Cut to the Dwarf King stuck in a cell in Ismuth. He's reminiscing about when the humans wiped out his people. After the defeat, the humans threw it in his face that things wouldn't have gone down this way if the dwarves had just listened to them from the start. The king had refused to let them use their tech for war. The humans, reminding him of the dire situation, threatened him by taking his son hostage. They demanded the dwarves use their skills for the Ismuth Kingdom's benefit if they wanted to survive. With no other options, the dwarves had to comply. They worked for the kingdom and then dispersed across the lands. The king wonders where his people are now and notices the guards outside are fast asleep. Lilith shows up and unlocks his cell. The king is shocked to see a demon and asks what she wants. Lilith tells him to come with her, but he keeps asking questions, which annoys her. Lilith puts him to sleep like she did with the soldiers, and Jiren arrives. He asks her what the hell she did to the king, and she replies she got fed up with his endless questions. She says they need to get him out of there, and Jiren picks up the king. They move out, and Jiren is relieved they're not running into any guards, but Lilith finds it dull. Jiren reminds Lilith that they were told to keep a low profile and not get spotted carrying out the king. He tells her to shut up and keep moving. Lilith doesn't like his attitude and tells him he smells bad today. This ticks Jiren off, and the noise attracts the guards. As a succubus, Lilith drains the guards' vitality to take them out. Jiren tells her Ike wanted them to avoid fights if possible. Lilith ignores him, and he says he'll report this to Ike. Then another guard tries to attack Jiren, who surprisingly takes him down. Jiren realizes he's just gone against Ike's orders himself, and Lilith says she'll tell Ike about this, and Jiren begs her not to. The two of them finally get out of the dungeon and spot a bunch of soldiers hanging around. The soldiers go on high alert when they see the demons, and Jiren tells Lilith to do something. She starts sucking the life out of them, but she doesn't kill them. Ike sees the ruckus from a distance and thinks they were told not to draw attention. We watch as Lilith and Jiren bolt from the soldiers since Lilith's full and can't absorb anymore. Jiren's puzzled why there are so many soldiers, thinking the Alliance was supposed to have taken most of them out. Then Ike uses his magic to stop the soldiers from chasing them and asks his team if there were any issues. Jiren says everything's cool and that they've got the king too. Ike's surprised they're handling the king so roughly, and Jiren tries to wake him up by spinning him around. And Ike has to remind him they need to be gentle with the king. Cut to the dwarf King Gunther, waking up in a house in Avalia's, and he sees Ike next to him. He asks why he's been freed, and Ike shows him a gun and asks if he can make more. Gunther sees it's pretty complex but thinks he can make more, though he has no plans to work for the demons. He figures Ike just wants to use them like the humans did and says he's not gonna be anyone's slave. Ike gets why he'd think that but says it's necessary for peace between humans and demons. Gunther's confused, not getting what Ike means. Ike asks him to follow and shows him how humans and demons are living together in his city. He tells Gunther he wants humans and demons to live in harmony, which is why he needs his help. Gunther thinks it's an interesting idea but can't get behind it because the humans exploited the dwarves and wrecked their country. So he doesn't want to help if it's just going to benefit the humans. Ike wonders if Gunther would be down to help if he could bring back the old peace. He promises that if Gunther helps mass-produce firearms, he'll ask the demon lord to rebuild the dwarf kingdom. Gunther thinks Ike's messing with him and tells him not to mock him. He says there's no point in rebuilding a nation without its people, but Ike insists he's serious and will prove it. He then takes Gunther to a smithy where a bunch of dwarves are busy crafting guns, and Gunther is totally blown away by what he sees. The dwarves are pumped to see their king back among them, and there's a heartwarming reunion with his son. Gunther's trying to piece together how all this happened, and his son explains that the demons just showed up, set them up with a place to live, and brought everyone back together. The dwarves are really grateful that Ike kept his word, and they're eager to show him what they can do in return. Ike asks Gunther again if he's going to back his ambitious plan, and Gunther agrees to lend a hand. They shake on it, and Gunther notes that Ike's hands are surprisingly warm for a demon. After that, Ike heads back to his study, and Sadie tries to make tea for him, but Ike tells her to chill and get some rest. Sadie says she prefers staying busy to distract herself. Ike suggests she could read some books if she's looking for something to do, and Sadie admits she can't read. Ike thinks being able to read is super important and says he'll teach her when he has some free time. Just as they're having a quiet moment, the succubus storms in, and seeing them close together, asks the maid if she's trying to seduce Ike again. The maid calmly replies that she's just helping her master, but they start bickering about it. Ike tries to calm them down, and Jiren rushes in, saying there's trouble, and we see that the allied nation's army has gathered outside Evalia's. One of the soldiers tells the general that the dwarf king was freed by the demons, and the general isn't worried, saying that old man isn't going to be of any use to the demons. Another soldier then arrives, and the general asks him how many troops are currently stationed in Evalia's. The soldier reports there are 500 troops right now, but with all the brigade commanders coming in to support, that number will increase. The general then asks about their overall force, and learns they've got a total of 12,000 soldiers. So he's convinced there's no way they're going to lose this battle with that kind of manpower. After some time, we find Ike and a dwarf perched at the top of a cliff, while Jiren is huffing and puffing, trying to make his way up. Ike could have easily helped him out with some levitation magic, but he figured Jiren could use the workout. Once Jiren finally makes it to the top, he's completely worn out and asks how much further they have to go. Thankfully, it seems they've already reached their destination. The dwarf reassures him, saying their goal is really close by, you can even see it from here. So, he leads Ike and Jiren to a cave filled with natural niter, which is perfect for making gunpowder. Back in town, the dwarves are bustling, hard at work crafting the guns needed for Ike's army, and they've already made quite a few. To test them out, Jiren calls over some goblins and instructs them to fire at the targets. As they do, the wooden planks become riddled with holes. Pleased with the results, Jiren orders the goblins to keep practicing with the guns. Meanwhile, the troops are gathering in town. The troop leaders are having a meeting with Ike and Sephiroth to discuss their war plans. The ogre asks Ike how he managed to get the city wall rebuilt so quickly when it should have taken at least twice as long. Ike explains that he had humans working alongside demons to speed up the process. He even paid the humans a decent wage for their work, which motivated them more than if they had been forced to do it. Just then, the gargoyle leader bursts through the roof with a dramatic crash. He's not too pleased about it, grumbling about how the room's too small for him. It's clearly built for humans, not for 10-foot-tall demons like him. After all, it's been a while since he's seen Ike, so he greets him with his new title of Vice Commander. Ike, however, isn't too concerned with the formalities and tells him it's really not necessary. With everyone finally gathered, Sephiroth kicks off the meeting. She's ready to make a big announcement. Ike is now in full command of all war operations, and from this point forward, all troop leaders are required to follow his orders, as he's their direct superior. There's a wave of respect in the room. After all, Ike earned a lot of admiration during his duel with Bastio. Every leader nods in agreement, ready to follow Ike's lead without question. The real challenge now is coming up with a strategy. The numbers are daunting. They have only 2,000 soldiers, while the enemy boasts a formidable 12,000. The wolf captain is optimistic, thinking that with their 6-to-1 odds, victory should be within reach. But Ike knows better. He points out that even if his wolf army is up to the challenge, there are still plenty of demons in their ranks who might struggle against such odds. Then the ogre proposes a daring plan, a night raid to catch the enemy off guard. But Ike quickly shoots this idea down. He's well aware that the enemy has mages among their forces, and a single detection spell could easily ruin any chance of a successful surprise attack. Instead, Ike decides to confront them on his own terms. He plans to let the human army make the first move. Their large numbers suggest they're brimming with confidence, and Ike wants to strip them of that arrogance. His goal is to make them falter and crumble, aiming to end the battle swiftly with minimal casualties on both sides. After the meeting wraps up, Sadie is busy cleaning up the mess caused by the hole in the roof, with Jairen lending a hand. Meanwhile, Ike is engrossed in studying a map, contemplating the upcoming battle. Sadie, noting the hustle and bustle around her, comments on how lively the city has become. Ike is surprised by her calm demeanor, especially with the impending war just hours away. Sadie reassures him that she's not frightened because she has faith that everyone in the city is determined to do their utmost to defend Evelius. Although Sadie won't be on the front lines, she's found her way to contribute by preparing meals for the soldiers. However, she's a bit concerned about how to manage meal preparations for such a large group, because her experience is mostly limited to cooking soup in bulk. So she asks Ike if he has any suggestions. Ike starts rifling through his collection of recipe books, but Sadie quickly tells him it's unnecessary for him to go through all that trouble just for her. Ike explains that what the soldiers eat can significantly impact their morale. Therefore, he wants to ensure they receive the best possible meals. He's relieved there's no food shortage, as that would have been disastrous for the army's strength. While still flipping through the old recipe book, Ike inquires if they have rice available. Once Sadie confirms they do, Ike suggests she try making fried rice. Excited about the new recipe, Sadie heads straight to the kitchen. Even though she only just learned about fried rice, her cooking skills are impressive enough to earn approval from culinary expert Nick DiGiovanni. When she finishes cooking, Sadie serves a portion to Ike, and they both agree that it turned out splendidly. Fried rice is a great choice. It's quick to make, can be prepared in large quantities, and tastes delicious, so this creation is sure to lift the soldiers' spirits and boost their morale once they get a taste of it. As the group prepares to enjoy their freshly made fried rice, the moment is interrupted by Jairen, who's clearly envious of the delicious food and demands to join in. Ike, with a hint of amusement, offers Jairen a plate of rice, which he eagerly accepts. Just as they're about to start eating, Lilith bursts in, also envious of the meal and wanting to join. Both Lilith and Jairen are blown away by the flavor of the rice, especially Lilith, who is so taken with it that she asks Sadie for a second helping. Sadie, in her enthusiasm, piles the rice a bit too high, leading Lilith to jokingly accuse her of trying to make her fat. This sparks a stare down between the two, and Ike wishes they could enjoy the meal without turning it into a squabble for once. With the meal momentarily forgotten, Ike shifts his focus back to the preparations for the Alliance's invasion. He reflects on the progress made. The city walls have been fully repaired, a formidable army has been assembled, and all troops are equipped with guns to ensure their success. So now the next step is to execute his strategy. Meanwhile, an ogre stationed as a lookout spots the Alliance's army approaching and promptly sounds the alarm. So Jairen rushes over to inform Ike that the time has come for the army to engage. Ike then steps out with his troops, ready to confront the Alliance. He addresses the assembled soldiers, emphasizing that if the Alliance breaches their defenses, they will proceed to attack Arsenal, which would be catastrophic for the demon forces. So he stresses the importance of protecting Evelius at all costs. The troops rally around Ike's words, cheering in unison. But meanwhile, the human army's commander expresses his disappointment, noting that the demons are far fewer in number than he had anticipated. All the effort he put into assembling the best soldiers from across the country seems almost excessive now. So he wonders if his massive force might actually be overkill, and he dismisses the situation as less of a war and more of an extermination. He then shifts his focus to his next goal, and orders his troops to advance with relentless determination, commanding them to ensure that every single demon is eradicated. But as the human army advances and begins using their heavy artillery, Ike casts a barrier to shield the castle from the barrage of projectiles. Despite Ike's efforts, the human commander remains relentless and orders another round of heavy fire. The enemy troops keep up the assault, trying to overwhelm Ike's barrier, but Ike remains steadfast, showing no signs of exhaustion, and his soldiers rally around him, their cheers echoing across the battlefield. Although Ike expected this kind of sustained attack, He's now focused on anticipating the enemy's next move. The human commander sees Ike's barrier holding up against their attacks, and not one to be easily deterred, orders his troops to launch another barrage. Lilith and Jiren watch with a mix of disbelief and amusement at the futile attempts to break through Ike's defenses, so they can't help but mock the human army's repetitive assault on the barrier. However, this time the humans have a trick up their sleeve. They deploy their magicians to disrupt Ike's barrier, causing it to become unstable and allowing the rocks to land on their target. With the barrier finally giving way, the human commander seizes the moment and commands his first squad to charge. Just as the soldiers begin their advance toward the walls, they are stopped dead in their tracks by the sudden appearance of a titan from behind the walls. The titan starts launching enormous rocks at the advancing soldiers, crushing several under the massive boulders, and when Erwin from Attack on Titan isn't here to motivate them, they start thinking of running away. But then Ike's soldiers start firing arrows to back up the titan's assault. So the human soldiers use their shields for defense and realize they can fight back. So before the titan can throw another boulder at them, they take aim and shoot the titan multiple times in his chest, eventually bringing it down. With the titan out of the picture, the human forces turn their attention back to the walls. So Jiren and the others scramble for cover as the arrows continue to rain down. Ike then puts up another barrier to shield his soldiers from the incoming arrows. But the human soldiers, undeterred, manage to get close enough to start hooking ladders onto the walls and climbing. But of course, Ike's soldiers will not let them climb up so easily. So they start firing arrows and throwing rocks to push back the invaders. Despite their efforts, the human army's numerical advantage means that if they keep climbing, it's only a matter of time before some of them make it to the top. But it's definitely not going to be any of these poor suicide soldiers. As the battle rages on, the human vice commander remarks on how much tougher the demons are proving to be than he anticipated. He's confident that with enough sustained assault, they'll eventually break through. But as he surveys the scene of his men dying, his thoughts seem to drift away from the battlefield, and the only thing occupying his mind is what he'll be having for dinner later. He's eager to wrap things up quickly so he can relax and enjoy his damn meal. So without a second thought, he orders another catapult attack on the wall, even though it means sending many of his own men to hell. The vice commander protests, concerned about the safety of their damn troops. But the human commander dismisses his worries because he doesn't give a damn about them, and orders the freaking catapults to fire. Ike spots the incoming projectiles and attempts to shield the castle with another barrier. Unfortunately, the barrier gets disrupted again, and Ike shouts for everyone to brace themselves. The barrage slams into the walls with devastating force, causing severe damage to the structure, and resulting in heavy casualties on both sides of the humans and that of the demons. Amidst the chaos, the lucky piggy manages to stay safe, while Lilith is very disgusted by the commander's disregard for his own men's lives just to breach the defenses. Ike too feels a mix of sorrow and anger at the sight of such reckless disregard for life. But the commander, with a smug smile, seems to relish the destruction he's causing, and then without any sign of hesitation, he orders the second squad of soldiers to advance through the newly created breach in the wall. So Ike's remaining forces prepare to defend their position, and the battle starts raging fiercely with both sides fighting desperately. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.